The pastoral search team has made a recommendation to the elders for our next senior minister. We'd like to share how God has worked in and through us in coming to this point.
I came to the first meeting excited about the challenge, but not knowing where we would start, what the process would be, and how we would work together as a team. But as I looked around the room, I realized that our congregation was truly and completely represented. We understood what the expectations were and that there were going to be some difficult decisions. As we worked through the process, our discussions were searching, introspective, and lively, and there were no rubber stamps. And one of the most impressive things was the insight and the contribution that was made by the younger members of the team.
I had already begun to pray that we would find the right person, that God would make him abundantly clear to us. So I was pretty discouraged when David Roadcup shared with us that it could take up to a month for every year the senior minister had served. That would be 3 years. And I didn't know if the team could endure such a long task. Could we as a congregation really wait that long? So I began praying for a quick process, one that would take just a few months.
How could 13 people all agree on the characteristics for the next senior minister, let alone agree on the person himself? During our first brainstorm session, we brainstormed a long list of traits and characteristics, and no one person could fit all of those things. So how are we going to focus on the most important characteristics? As we took the time to reflect on the qualities that we were looking for, we realized that our list of traits could be categorized and refined to a more manageable number. So we took that list and we presented it to the elders, and upon their approval, we shared the 6 characteristics with the congregation.
We would be looking for someone who is committed as a growing disciple, exemplary in character, skilled as a biblical contemporary preacher, pursuing collaborative leadership, effective as an evangelist, demonstrating experience and vision for multi-site and multicultural ministry.
At this point, we began reviewing resumes that we had already received, contacting a broad network of churches for possible candidates, and processing referrals that came from our congregation. Aligning those candidates with those 6 characteristics really helped clarify our process. But we still had our own individual idea of what this person should look like. For example, someone around the age of 40, a good sense of humor, who's single and enjoys baseball. Wait, sorry, I got the wrong list. Hang on. Owns a boat. No, not needy. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, sorry, got it. Someone who's young, someone who's mature, a change agent, and someone who can build consensus. But we stayed focused on being aligned with those characteristics, and we kept praying.
Often it seemed like we were jugglers, just trying to keep more than one ball in the air at the same time. We decided to move forward with potential candidates, and at the same time, we were reviewing new resumes and additional referrals. Altogether, we had 45 resumes and referrals, and they represented a wide range of possibilities. They were from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South. They were candidates that had been in ministry for a few years and several decades, and they served in urban and suburban and rural congregations. As part of the screening process, we listened to hours and hours of sermons online. We visited a few churches so that we could hear candidates live, and we started scheduling screening interviews. It was about that time that I began to pray for unity. Our team was working so well together. We liked each other and we respected each other. Wouldn't it just be great if we could agree on one candidate? Was that even possible?
We were well into the middle of the process when a referral came to us from more than one member. Frankly, several members of the team dismissed him, but I contacted him to let him know that someone had referred him. At our next meeting, I reported that the man and his wife had agreed to prayerfully consider whether God was leading him to even be considered as a candidate or not. We didn't hear anything from him for a while, and we focused on other candidates.
When we received his resume, several on the team got excited. They thought that he would be a good choice. As someone who takes time to process information and needs time to process information, I wasn't convinced. I needed that time to gather some additional information to get a better picture of who he was as a candidate. And I found myself asking questions like, can he relate to a diverse group of people? Can he relate to someone like me? My heart was changed the night of the screening interview. It was that night that I left challenged in so many ways. I found myself asking how I could be a better servant of God. I found myself pondering statements that he had made during the screening interview, such as, how can we as a congregation minister with a community and not just to it? It is with a great sense of excitement and anticipation that I think of all of the possibilities that lie ahead of us and how well this candidate aligns with our 6 characteristics.
I made a 180-degree change. When I first heard about this candidate, I was concerned that he would be able to relate well with all generations. Then I saw him connecting with other members of our team, even the youngest members of our team, in very significant ways. And that really excited me. That changed my heart, and that was a God thing.
I've interviewed many people for many different jobs. I can't recall ever being part of a more impressive interview. His answers, even to our toughest questions, were right on point and provided me with evidence that he fits all our criteria. He is the man we've been looking for.
I was the skeptic of the group. Most of the team was already on board, people were excited, and I was not convinced. And then I went to see him preach. And he connected with me. He was able to help me see things from a different point of view. He challenged me. And the cool thing was, I think that he challenged everybody who was there that morning. Age didn't matter, background didn't matter. He was able to speak to all of us. This was the man that we've been praying for.
For months, we prayed for unity, and God answered that prayer with a powerful sense of peace and assurance. We were all in agreement. We had one candidate to recommend to the elders, but we had to wait just a little bit longer. The candidate hadn't agreed to move forward in the process yet. We were so sure of God's leading in this, so we just wondered, what was he waiting for? And so we waited. And we prayed, and he prayed. And as we waited, God moved, and the candidate agreed to move forward.
We received a letter from the pastoral search team announcing they had a single candidate for us to consider. In the letter, they explained the process they used to review and select the candidate. They also shared with us that this candidate met all 6 characteristics we were looking for, but they didn't share his name. What were they waiting for?
When we met with the pastoral search team, their excitement was clearly evident. Kim and several other members of the team shared their hearts with us. Their enthusiasm was evident, as was their unanimous support for the candidate.
We too have met with the candidate. He has shared his heart and passion for our congregation and a vision for the future. He is a skilled leader and a man of outstanding character. We concur completely with the pastoral search team's selection. As we have prayed for this team and our congregation over the past months, we've seen God's blessing poured out. Our staff has done an outstanding job of leading us forward in the interim.
And now it's time to begin a new chapter in the long history of our congregation. I'm very happy to introduce the man we're recommending as senior minister of White Oak Christian Church.
Hi, my name is Rick Schonkweiler, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity of being the next senior minister at White Oak Christian Church. Nancy and I have raised 4 children. Heidi, our oldest, lives in Atlanta. Hannah and her husband Ryan live in Burlington, Kentucky, and in April gave birth to our first granddaughter, Abigail, who is the joy of our life. Our third daughter is Jeanette, and she is married this weekend, October 2nd, to Dave Robinson, and they will make their home in Loveland, Ohio. Our youngest, Grant, is a video game designer and programmer in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is an incredible challenge to speak of the transforming love of Jesus to all people. As one of my friends puts it, we are called to love God, love people, and lead others to do the same. As we join together in that incredible ministry, we seek to communicate just how incredibly God loves people. You know, there are a lot of people in our world today that don't believe that. In fact, there's no one to love them. And so part of our call and a part of our challenge is to be able to set free the captives, those who are bound up in things that keep them from being what God wants them to be, to speak healing into those who are broken, to encourage those who are hopeless. That's an incredible ministry, and that's the ministry that God has called White Oak Christian Church to today. My ministry in my life has always been about communicating God's truth in a way that people can apply it to daily living. Just having the Word alone or just having application alone without connecting it to the truth of God is empty and it's powerless. And so we seek to take the truth of God and its power and connect it to the lives that we live in a way that it makes an impact on the communities in which we live. I'm always amazed at how God uses a simple man to do His will. God has used every fiber of my being and every experience that I've ever had to draw me closer to Himself. The opportunity to speak His word that is His truth into people's lives is what makes my heart beat. When I was first approached about the opportunity at White Oak, I asked God, what are you up to? What do you have in mind? As we began to pray about the opportunity and we began to pray about that decision, and as we were asked questions again by the search team and then by the elders, it became apparent that God was calling us to this situation. He was calling me from something that I knew to something new. What do I see as I look at White Oak? I see a place with a rich history that we will celebrate. I see a place with a strong present where we will participate. But I also see a place with an incredible future. We will anticipate. We'll anticipate what God is about to do among us. Each of us here is called to take the love of Christ into our homes, into our communities, into our workplaces. We've been given some influence to use in life. Each of us has to answer the question, how have we used that influence? Has it been used to draw people closer to Christ? Has it been used to introduce people to God? That's the question of our hour. There is much health here, but there is also much work here to be done. Nancy and I are excited about the opportunity of joining together with you in growing a community where people are becoming fully devoted followers of Christ.